Mr. President, this is great. Distinguished members of Congress, governors, mayors, community leaders, ladies and gentlemen, this is a good afternoon. In 1992, I was traveling with then Governor Bill Clinton, who was seeking the support of the American people to become President of the United States. As he traveled across America, he pledged to invest in those things that would strengthen America for the challenges of a new century and a new millennium. Well, during the past 6 years, even as we have balanced the budget for the first time in 30 years, President Clinton and Vice President Gore, working with all of you, they have made good on that pledge. The President has worked with the Congress to invest in education, in science and technology, and yes, in transportation. Transportation investment is already more than 41% above the last administration's average, and we see the results of this investment. Every day, the conditions of our roads and bridges and transit properties improved. Our air is cleaner, and the highway fatality rate is the lowest in our nation's history. Today, we're taking another major step forward, building from strength to strength, with a transportation bill that literally will take us into a new century and a new millennium, and ensure that transportation remains the tie that binds. This bill continues to make transportation safety the President's top priority. It represents our North Star by which we will be guided and judged. It also continues to protect our environment and continues to rebuild America, one neighborhood, one community at a time. And it proves that transportation is, as is here evidenced, about more than concrete, asphalt, and steel. But it's about people. It's about the hard work that they put forth, that they might get their children to school, that they might pursue knowledge and understanding. It's about the work they do with their hands and with their minds, that they help then to rebuild America. It's about giving them opportunity to lead better and more fulfilling lives. This legislation helps those moving from the dependence of welfare to the independence of work. It ensures that women and minority-owned businesses, as well as small businesses, will have a chance to compete on an equal basis in helping to rebuild America. And it preserves strong labor protections for transportation workers. Now, these measures, some of them faced opposition, but I'm proud. I'm proud that our President stood firm and that many members of Congress stood firm with him. I am pleased that we have in this bill all of the things that the President talked about when he unveiled our Next T proposal in this very room in March of 1997. And so I want to thank the President, and I want to thank these distinguished members of Congress. And Mr. President, you can just look across the room, and clearly we have the leadership. We've got the majority leader. We've got the chairs of the two important committees, Chairman Chafee and Chairman Schuster. We've got Congressman Oberstar and Senator Baucus. We've got Senator Byrd. We've got Chairman Warner. We've got governors and mayors. We've got the strength of the Congress, Chairman Petri and others, all here because of the importance of this legislation. I would be remiss, Mr. President, if I didn't thank your team here at the White House, Erskine Bowles and Gene Sperling, Jack Lew and Larry Stein and Michael Deitch, and yes, Franklin Raines, and all who worked with us to help make this legislation a reality. I also want to thank the members of my team at the Department of Transportation, Deputy Secretary Mortimer Downey, and several other members of our department who are here today. They too deserve our thanks. Our FHWA Administrator, Ken Weichel, our FTA Administrator, Gordon Lenton, our FRA Administrator, Jolene Molatoris, our NHTSA Administrator, Rick Martinez, our RISPA Acting Administrator, Kelly Corner, and Bob Kinsley, our Acting Director of the Bureau of Transportation Statistics. Also, Steve Palmer, who worked with the distinguished members of the Congress to help make this legislation a reality. He serves as our Assistant Secretary for Governmental Affairs. Also, Nancy McFadden, our General Counsel, Jack Basso, our Acting Assistant Secretary for Budget, and Jano Lieber, our Acting Assistant Secretary for Policy. I mention them because we still have a little work yet to be done, and I will need their strong support and cooperation as we work with you to make even better things happen. And also, I'd like to thank the thousands of employees of the department who helped to make America's transportation system the best in the world, but who are also committed again to build from strength to strength in creating a transportation system for the 21st century that will be international in its reach, giving us access to markets around the world, intermodal in its form, intelligent in its character, and inclusive in its service. A transportation system that will ensure that our best days are yet to come. One outstanding feature of this bill is an expansion of the job training programs to help give us the skilled workforce we need for the 21st century. Our next speaker, Robin McNabb of Upper Marlboro, Maryland, graduated from just such an apprenticeship and training program. She currently is a journey person qualified on a wide variety of construction equipment and has worked on projects throughout the area. She exemplifies what this piece of legislation is all about. She personifies the best of America, skilled and dedicated, committed to ensuring that our best days are yet ahead of us. It is my pleasure to bring to you one who can really speak to the importance of this legislation, Robin McNabb.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm a little nervous, but I'm very honored to be here today for the signing of this most historic bill. I'm Robin McNabb. I've been in heavy construction for over 20 years. I've been in the Local 77 operating engineers for 10 years. I've gone through their apprenticeship program, which greatly increased my skills and gave me a better opportunity for wages and good job. I think this bill is greatly needed and has been for a long time for the safety of our families and for everyone who uses the highways and transportation system. From the beginning, ever since the Family and Medical Leave Act, as one of his first acts in office, President Clinton has stood up for families and a strong economy. Because of this president, people like me have a better living today. And so it's my great honor to present to you the President of the United States.
Great job. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. Well, thank you, Robin. You're a pretty hard act to follow. And thank you, Secretary Slater, for doing such a good job and for giving such a good sermon today. I thought he was going to pass the plate. Then I realized that you had already given him all the money. You didn't need to pass the plate. I too want to thank the members of Congress who are here. There are 40 or 41 here, but I would like to specifically acknowledge and thank Senator Lott, Senator Chafee, and Senator Baucus, Congressman Schuster and Congressman Oberstar, Senators Byrd, D'Amato, and Sarbanes, all the others who are here who have worked for this. I thank you so much. Thank you, Governor Schaefer, for coming, and all the mayors who are here from all over our great country. Governor Voinovich wanted to come and be with us today, but he's back in Ohio with his mother who is ill, and our thoughts and prayers are with them. 42 years ago this month, President Eisenhower signed the Federal Aid Highway Act into law. The bill was sponsored in the Senate by Albert Gore, Sr. It gave rise to the most efficient network of roads in the history of this country, connecting millions of Americans to the economic mainstream, ushering in 2 decades of unparalleled growth. In 1992, when I got on that bus and rode across America, I was still the beneficiary of that far-sighted action over 40 years ago. But I also saw that the concrete foundations built in the Eisenhower era were crumbling in some places, that more needed to be done in our cities, in our rural areas, and in all places in between. It was clear to me then that if America were to roll into the 21st century at full speed, we had to be willing once again to make historic and long-term investments in our roads, our bridges, our transportation systems. We've worked hard to do that for 5 years with enormous bipartisan support in the Congress, even as we were cutting the deficit and reducing the size of the federal government to its smallest in 35 years. Today, I'm proud to sign this bill, the Transportation Equity Act for the 21st century. It meets the challenge of building the pathways of the future while maintaining the fiscal discipline that allowed us to achieve the first balanced budget in 29 years and an accompanying very high rate of economic growth. The act will strengthen America by modernizing and building roads, bridges, transit systems, and railways to link our people and our country together and to permit a freer flow of goods. It supports, as you just saw, hundreds of thousands of jobs and a lot of good training. The act will save lives by allowing us to develop advanced airbag technologies, to offer incentives for increased seatbelt use, to make our roads safer, to get bad drivers and vehicles off the road. The act will protect the environment. It expands recreational trails and bike paths, promotes mass transit, and helps communities to meet national standards for healthy air. The act will expand opportunity. It offers transportation assistance to enable more Americans to move from welfare to work. If you can't get to work, you can't go to work. It protects the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program so that minority and women-owned businesses have an opportunity to compete for transportation projects. The act will allow us to reserve our budget surpluses until we have saved Social Security for the 21st century. The bill is paid for line by line and dime by dime, without squeezing other critical investments in education, healthcare, research and development, and the environment. I have to say that I am disappointed that the bill does not go far enough to ensure a national standard of .08 blood alcohol standard in every state. I'll continue to fight for it, and I hope we can pass it, because I believe it will save hundreds of lives. I also would note for the record that working with these members of Congress, we were successful in removing several extraneous environmental riders from the legislation, but I hope that that process can be abandoned so that all environmental issues can be voted on in the clear light of day, up or down. Let me finally say that now that we are honoring our commitment to build a 21st century transportation infrastructure, I hope that the bipartisan support I have already seen for a 21st century education infrastructure will result in a broad bipartisan bill there as well. For less than 1/10 of the cost of this bill, and without spending a cent of the surplus, we can help to ensure that our children will be able to learn in safe, modern, well-equipped schools. Now, again, all of you, just look at this array of members of Congress who are here from both parties in both houses. This shows what we can do when we bring honorable differences and an honest determination to solve a problem together in open and respectful dialogue with an absolute commitment to getting to the end of the road. This kind of constructive bipartisan approach can do anything it sets its mind to do. I talked to Senator Lott today, and I want to thank him and, in his absence, Senator Daschle for the agreements which have been made today to allow votes to proceed on the tobacco legislation. I thank you, sir. We have another chance to save 1 million lives, reduce youth smoking, and make a massive contribution to the public health of America. The public expects us to work our differences on this legislation and on other important bills. The public expects us to act as parents, not politicians. The public really expects us to bring the kind of bipartisan spirit that was brought to bear on this transportation bill to all our important work here. And I must say again, the country owes a deep debt of gratitude to the United States Congress for the way they have done this work. Thank you. And I'd like to ask all the members of Congress to come up here and gather around, and I'll sign the bill.
Yeah, we got to move down.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. We're adjourned.